opportunity for us, This will put a big spotlight on you as a foreigner. If we want this discipleship movement to take off here as a local Indian movement, it would be better for it not to be presented by you. That will send the wrong impression, Craig." His words are understated but crystal clear. They immediately remind me of the ancient Khmer proverb. It takes a spider to repair its own web. My chest sinks, and I feel my lips curve into a slight frown. I know Paulus is right, but frankly I'm gutted. After I hang up, I sit for a while, letting the disappointment sink in. Now at this point in the story you may be thinking, needs are needs. Who cares who meets them? Get out there and make a difference. Seize every opportunity to use your God-given gifts to preach the gospel. But what if the greater invitation for many of us in this new era, particularly those of us who have power and privilege, is to use more wisdom in the ways we seek to serve others? I've had to learn this lesson the hard way, as I have lived for 2 decades in slums and inner cities and made a lot of mistakes along the way. Though I've started ministries around the world, I am still learning. As a white Westerner, I've always been taught to consider the words I speak on stage as if they stand alone, disembodied, as if I'm a neutral messenger bringing the word of God. After all, it's not like I would be up there on stage waving a Union Jack, the flag of India's former colonial power, and the birthplace of my ancestors. And it's not like I would be flashing wads of cash, implying that by joining this discipleship movement, these poor youth could get connected to overseas money. But I don't need those props to send the youth a message about power and outside money. My very presence sends that message all by itself. Though 20,000 young leaders would hear my words of love and goodwill, those words would be reinterpreted and misunderstood if I were the person delivering them. I knew in my gut that Paulus was right. The leaders would receive my words as a foreign message, wrapped in a cloak of colonialism and cash. The next day I shot Paulus a message. "You're absolutely right, bro. Who else could we get on that stage to communicate the message? Someone local, of course." Paulus replies immediately, "I know just the person." The temptation to pursue God in the wrong way. Have you ever noticed how the things that Satan tempted Jesus with during his 40 days in the desert were not inherently evil? Luke chapter 4, verses 1 through 15. Satan tried to goad Jesus into making bread from stones. But there's nothing particularly bad about bread, is there? Starving people need food, and the world is full of pressing needs. Only a heartless jerk would deny a starving beggar a yummy bread roll. What about the promise of safety in the hands of angels? That's not evil either. Endangered people need protection. Vulnerable children need people to stand on their side when life is tough. They need someone to stand up on a stage somewhere and advocate for their well-being. And what about the opportunity to have the whole world bow before Jesus? That's not evil either. Imagine if people all over the world knew the love of God. Surely anyone pursuing that end, in any manner, is simply doing the work of God. And yet, we know from this story that it was the bad guy, Satan himself, dangling all these good things, these valid and pressing needs in front of Jesus. Still, Jesus resisted. He resisted the shortcuts because he knew there was a better way. God's way, God's timing. He resisted the shortcuts because the end never, ever justifies the means. Jesus could have overwhelmed Israel with his power and wonders, a one-man miracle machine. Instead, he chose the slow, difficult route of raising up a community of believers and empowering them to take his message to the world. He sparked a grassroots movement that has stood the test of time. What if the temptation we face as people with power and privilege in a world of need is not so much the temptation to pursue evil, rape, murder, or pillaging? Instead, what if our temptation is to pursue good in the wrong way? This is a temptation I face every day because, as a Western missionary for more than 20 years, I walk the streets with forms of power that many of my Cambodian neighbours don't have. I receive